Boss battles are a staple part of video games, and they're an even bigger part of countdowns. Seriously, pretty much every countdown maker has made a list about bosses, so I guess I should finally make my own. But you know what? I want to switch things up a bit. I'll make a list about my favorite bosses someday, but for now, let's focus on the pushovers. Bosses are usually meant to be a test of the player's skill, make sure they're ready to continue to the next part of the game. So, when you have bosses that are ridiculously easy, it can kill the fun a bit. It's even worse when said boss is something that's been built up throughout the game, as then the feeling of disappointment is even greater. That being said, an easy boss doesn't have to be a bad one, as one could be enjoyable if the conditions are right, so I won't be ranting about all of these bosses. Also, I'll be judging them on their difficulty relative to where they are in the game, so don't expect too many first bosses on here. Oh yeah, and because the play before put rule is in place, bosses like the Golden Overlord, Bob the Goldfish, and Old King Cole won't be on here. But hey, maybe I can get some points for originality? Well, with all that out of the way, time to do the thing. The words Shovel Knight and Easy aren't usually put together, but the game does have some parts where the challenge dips. One such part is the boss of the Lost City, the digging-obsessed Mole Knight. What makes this boss easy is that his pattern is very, very easy to work around. He'll go to the wall, jump out a few times, slide across the ground, and then stop. And right here is where Mole Knight's biggest weakness comes up. You see, if you're able to get near him by the time he ends his sliding attack, Mole Knight will start shoving dirt across the screen, allowing you to keep bouncing and bouncing on his head, getting way more damage than you should be able to. He'll also hide under the floor a bit and rear his mask, allowing for a few more hits before he activates another attack. Granted, Mole Knight does have one trick up his claws that keeps him lower on the list. Occasionally, he'll tap into his inner 2012 countdown creator and put up a flame shield that makes him invincible for a bit and spews balls of fire everywhere. These shots can be rather tricky to dodge as they fly sporadically, but this is really the only challenge that the fight presents. Mole Knight goes down quicker than some earlier bosses, and since he's a mid-game boss, that probably isn't a good thing. And heck, he's even easier in Plague of Shadows, and Plague Knight's range bombs allow for more opportunities to hit him. Considering that your stage is causing more deaths in one run than you have overall, Mole Knight, I'd say that fighting really isn't your thing. Stick to digging tunnels instead of being a mediocre boss. Splatoon Story Mode. You were way more fun than I expected with your overworld, mechanics, levels, and good lineup of bosses. Like seriously, that final boss, most intense battle I've had in a while. But sadly, not every fight made my blood run like that one, which brings us to the Rampaging Octostomp. This boss is basically a bigger version of the Octoball, with little things like to roll around until they get stuck in your ink, so you can tell they got real original when making it. Without rolling is the Octoball's only attack that's a threat to you, and since the Octoballs were always easy to deal with, you can tell this boss is going to be easy. In Splatoon, bosses will usually require you to use something other than your gun to beat them, but here, all you need to do is ink up the ground and wait for it. The game will try to throw a bit of challenge at you by having the floor split and rotate in different directions, but it moves so slow it isn't even a problem. Finally, when you've got 2 hits in on the Octo World, parts of the floor will turn to glass so you can't ink them, but once again, it isn't much of a problem when the Octo World goes out in a flash. Honestly, the only thing that will be tested here is your patience, as waiting for it to charge up a world just becomes annoying. And on the off chance that you do get hit, you won't get damage marks because the ink trail the Octoworld leaves behind gives you an opportunity to escape. All this being said, it says at number 9 due to being just the 3rd boss in a rather easy game, so the challenge dip isn't as severe. You'll see more of that later. But still, this boss shouldn't just let you stand there and shoot all around. You have to fight these abusive squids Octoworld, don't let them— oh wait, you're already dead. Time to move on to the next boss before they die, I guess. Xenoblade Chronicles is a very mixed bag in terms of bosses. You've got your good ones like Yaldabaoth and Metalface, your challenging ones like Mumkar and the Unknown Slethia, and ones like Lorithia that make me question why I like this game. The game doesn't have a lot of pathetically easy bosses though. Sure, you've got your bosses who all you need to do is take out some of their health and let the cutscenes start, but those don't count for this list. That being said, there's one story battle that requires you to bring your opponent's HP down to 0, which brings us to Egio. Remember when I said that an easy boss isn't necessarily a bad one? Well, that partially applied to the first 2 entries, but for this entry, it's the absolute truth. Egio isn't a bad boss, he's just really easy because the battle is more important for story purposes. The build-up isn't ruined, it isn't anticlimactic, it is just a fact that considering where you are in the game, this is a very easy boss. Enough rambling, on to the fight. Egio starts the fight by summoning some easy-to-kill Mechon, and if you get far enough in the fight, he'll actually summon more. But unless you're really bad at Xenoblade, you most likely won't see them. When you finally get to fighting Egio after a few seconds, he doesn't put up much of a fight, throwing attacks that barely slow you down and occasionally spouting quotes. He's got some defensive upgrades that are seemingly there to make him harder to take down, like a higher physical defense and a shortened topple time, but they aren't noticeable in the fight. But hey, he can attack you, so he must be kind of threatening, right? No, not at all. The problem with Eggie's attacks is they don't do much damage, letting you heal off the HP you lost and keep fighting without breaking a sweat. And when he finally does activate a vision and pull out attacks that can kill your party members, there's multiple ways to stop them. There's days coming out of shield, and if by some chance you can't use either of those in time, there's always the all-powerful chain attack. Give Eggie a few of those and you'll make quick work of him. I actually found this to be a nice boss, given that it came after arguably the hardest boss in the game, even with the easiness in mind. And hey, we got a pretty cutscene after the battle with a nice quote to boot. That's a good reward, I think. The Zelda series may have a great selection of bosses, but even it's prone to having some that go by rather quickly. There's the ever-popular Anglerfish in Link's Awakening, and I actually considered putting Darkstar on the list, but instead of talking about A Link Between Worlds again, let's focus on another game. How about that popular one that might have been kind of important? I think it was called Ocarina of Time. I haven't brought this game up since that terrible list, and unfortunately I won't be praising it much today. Because hot damn, is King Dodongo easy. I guess he's kind of intimidating, given that Link's a weak boy at this point in time, but once the fight begins, you'll forget about that. King Dodongo is very slow, casually rolling around the arena like a bowling ball and stopping so that he can slowly lumber towards you. And whatever will you do in the face of such a challenge? Well, you just need to stand there, wait for him to open his mouth, and huck a bomb in. It'll blow up, you'll get to hit him a few times, and it'll start his easy to dodge pattern all over again. There's so many ways to avoid his attacks that it's laughable, from standing in the corner to crouching as lava to just letting him roll over your shielded back. And even though you do have a limited number of bombs, there's some nice explosives dotted around the cave for you to use if need be. King Dodongo may only be the second boss in the game, but even so, he's pretty pathetic. But hey, at least he's fun to mercilessly slay in Hyrule Warriors. At least killing him in a minute makes sense in that game. Hey, did you guys know that Monster Hunter is really freaking fun? After taking a break from 3 Ultimate for a few months, I've finally gotten back into it, and with the series' great combat and interesting monsters, I'm having a blast. This series may have some monsters that make me consider the merits of destroying my TV, but as we go further in the game, a lot of monsters become much easier to fight. But if there's one monster that remains easy throughout the majority of the game, it's the Great Jaggi. The Great Jaggi isn't exactly an easy boss the first time you fight it. That doesn't come from its attacks or defenses though, it just comes from the fact that at this point in the game, you probably don't have the strongest weapons, especially if you use dual blades like me. But after that fight, it starts showing up in free hunt and soon becomes about as easy to beat as the lesser Jaggi. Since the Great Jaggi doesn't have any elemental properties, all of its attacks are physical and for the most part are very easy to dodge. It'll alternate between 2 attacks most of the time, a lunging bite forward and a hip check. These attacks have a noticeable charge up, giving you an opportunity to roll out of the way, but given that they do minimal damage, getting hit is far from the worst thing in the world. At least the attacks have knockback to add some challenge to the fight, or, you know, extra time. The Great Jaggi will also start screeching in order to call Jaggi to it and use them as meat shields, because apparently staying alive for a few extra seconds is the most important thing. After taking enough damage, it'll flee to another area, which is honestly just padded to make the fight last longer. Just be a good little wife and let me kill you, okay? At least being easy to kill means that you can farm it for parts early in the game and get some decent armor and weapons. Like Eggio, the Great Jaggi is intentionally easy, so it isn't a bad boss, but fighting it is a quick and forgettable process. But at least it's not a painful process, unlike some other early game monsters. Kid Icarus is pretty infamous for having some cheap bosses, but it also has its share of easy ones. Dark Pit, the Reset Bomb Pod, the Arm Core, and even Palutena can be beaten very quickly even if it's your first time fighting them. But personally, the one that I've always found to be the easiest is the Goddess of Calamity, Pandora. Okay, let me say first, this fight has a lot of things going for it. Pandora herself is a very entertaining character, the fight is a nice break from the disorienting stage, and in the middle of battle we get introduced to Dark Pit. And I like me some Dark Pit. But even so, the fight can go by so fast that the character will barely even get a chance to talk. Given that Pandora is just a giant flame, her main attack consists of shooting fireballs at Pit in an attempt to turn him into the floor mate he loves so much. That attack can burn you if you don't dodge it, which might be a problem if one of Pandora's other attacks wasn't a Death Wish. She'll eventually throw out some bombs that can damage you, but you can also hit them back at her for major damage. Oh, she can also swim through the ground to get at you, but that honestly isn't much of a problem. Hit her enough and you're treated to a nice cutscene, Dark Pit shows up, and the fight gets even easier. Remember how in the Dark Lord Garrel fight, Magnus could do a lot of the work for you? Well, it's the same case here, because Dark Lord was too edgy to fight you. In this phase, Pandora can send Flame Disc your way, as well as turn red in an attempt to suck you in, so she stepped up her game, but still learned nothing from the first phase. Because she'll still send out bombs, meaning that not only do you have 2 characters damaging her at once, but you can also reflect a strong attack back at her. I know that she's an early boss, but even so, for a game full of bosses that test your skills, Pandora sticks out like a sore thumb. At least we got Amazon Pandora later in the game, and damn it, she still has bombs. Oh wait, she learned how to make them not hurt her. Good job, Pandora. Mega Man is a very hard game series. I've tried out multiple games for it and never beaten a single one, but I have fought my fair share of Robot Masters. So, to look for one of the easiest ones in the series, we turn to Mega Man 2. And let's face it, because I said Mega Man 2, you can probably guess that number 4 is Flashman. Let's see, what does Flashman have going in terms of having the slightest bit of challenge? Well, I guess they have to jump around the stage because it's very uneven, there's always a chance of running into him, and he can stop time to shoot at you. And that's pretty much it. Most people go for Flashman first when going through this game, and with good reason. You hardly need to do anything to beat him. He'll go back and forth across the stage, giving you plenty of opportunities to hit him with the Mega Buster, and because your shots go through walls, he will never be safe. But Capcom decided it would be a great idea to castrate the easiest boss in the game even further, so they created one of the most broken items in video game history, the Metal Blades. It wasn't enough for these things to tear through minor enemies, so now you can use them to kill Flashman in even less time. Oh, and don't forget that you can beat him without moving in the boss gauntlet. Yeah, there's no problem with any of that. None at all. When it comes to my favorite Ace Attorney villains, Christophe Gavin is definitely up there. He's manipulative, he set up a murder that could happen even while he was in jail, he's hard to get, he's like a human incarnation of the devil. But seriously, what exactly is up with his final cross-examination? It may be hard to justify putting a boss from a visual novel series on the list, but you still do use gameplay to beat him, and that's all I really need. The main villains of other games will usually have you jump through a few hoops to take them down, especially the infinite interrogation of Crisis Alba, but with Christophe, you just need to use Apollo's bracelet powers. The bracelet parts of cross-examinations are normally pretty easy, but even so, this is just laughable. Christophe doesn't have a lot of variation in the sprite, so it's pretty obvious which one you need to use the bracelet on. Unless you're just dying to squeeze a bit more out of Apollo justice by pressing all of Christophe's testimony, you've just gotta scroll to the end, activate the bracelet, wait for the spooky scary skull to appear, shout out a gotcha, and let the case end from there. You can argue that a lot of Ace Attorney testimonies go like this, but even so, being the final challenge that you have to overcome before you face the credits, the gameplay goes by a bit too quickly. Now, even though Christophe is a bit of a one-hit kill boss, he doesn't scrape to the top 2 because from a story standpoint, he's rather difficult to catch. Apollo and Clavier still have to take him down after the cross-examination, so it's not like he's done right after the fight. If that happened, Christophe wouldn't have been nearly as memorable. But now, onto some bosses that didn't last long in my memory. When I was researching candidates for this list, I originally overlooked the Scott Pilgrim game. But because of a recent read of the series, I remembered one of the more forgettable experiences I've had in a video game, the battle with the Tadionagi twins. Just take a look at this. What the heck is this game? Honestly, what the heck is this boss? For a fight that comes after one of the hardest levels in the game where you have to fight 2 mini-bosses, I would think it'll be a pretty good challenge. But no, we got a boss where you fight 2 evil ex-boyfriends at the same time that can be beaten in a matter of seconds. If you have more than one person with you in fighting twins, then you'll likely KO them both very quickly and won't be able to see much of their attacks, but the fight is still incredibly easy solo. A lot of the twins' attacks will be pretty familiar because they're essentially the same as some of yours. There's a double spin kick that's telegraphed way too well, the twins can revive each other if just one is down, and any physical attacks don't do much damage or aren't hard to avoid. Unless you're critically low on health when you fight the twins, and honestly I wouldn't blame you given the level that precedes them, then dying should not be an issue. It's a shame that a fight that was one of the best in the books in the movie was reduced to a boss that can be taken out in just a few hits. Game, I love you, but when you give me bosses like this one, I just have to raise an eyebrow. That and Todd Ingram. Don't really like that guy. Let's face it, Pokemon has always been and always will be a pretty easy series. Well, at least the main games will, but else can definitely be challenging. But even so, the series has been getting easier in the past few years. With the rise of the all-powerful EXP share, bosses can be absolute pushovers, and some are just as easy without it. Such is the case with the easiest boss I've ever faced in a video game, Tate and Liza from Pokemon Omega Ruby and Alpha Sapphire. Where to begin with this boss? Well, how about the fact that you can beat the 2 of them in one move? You see, in order to get to Moss Deep City, you need this little move called Surf. That little move also happens to have a base power of 90, an accuracy of 100, and can hit 2 Pokemon at once. And oh look, Tate and Liza just so happen to have Pokemon that are weak to water type attacks. So yes, you can end this fight in one move. A move that is required to get to the gym in the first place. In the original Ruby and Sapphire, they're easy. In Emerald, they're actually challenging, but in Oras, the battle is just so effortless. Tate and Liza should not be a one-hit kill boss, no matter what. And they're the 7th gym leaders in the game. I'm sure there's plenty of other strategies you can use to beat them, but the whole surf thing no. This is when Yellow Weasel. And even though there are many battles in Gen 6 that are easy, at least at the end of it all, we get to fight Steven. That's always a fun time. I'll see you in the Dark World.